Meanwhile, in the Flathead, county officials establishing an incident command in wake of the pandemic.
KPAX's Maren Sue spoke with leaders to find out what that means for the Flathead Valley.
Flathead County officials and health officials are putting plans in place to prepare for the coronavirus. Dr. Doug Nelson with Kalispell Regional Medical Center says the hospital has strict protocol.
We are making plans for how we're going to test people if the numbers expand correctly, significantly, how we're going to care for those people with the knowledge that some of our staff may be out ill with the virus as well. How we're going to respond to surges in our patient volumes in our hospital.
Dr. Nelson says they've taken precautions, including no visitors to Brendan House, a retirement care facility for elderly patients. Dr. Nelson explains why the hospital made this decision.
Older people with many health problems really are most at risk and vulnerable population. We want to take real steps to protect them.
Kalispell Regional also has infectious disease doctors and nurses on staff. Flathead County Health Officer Hillary Hansen says the county has established an incident command, which she says provides structure in emergency situations.
Scenarios like this, the number one thing we run into is resources, and a lot of times it's just people resources, having enough people to answer the phones for everyone who has questions. And so putting us together in this structure and then working with our partners to designate one person to work with us really allows us to efficiently use our time and resources, which means we do a better job of responding.
I spoke with Kalispell City Manager Doug Russell, who tells me exactly what the city's plans are.
A lot of those things, that will go out for open house comment are things really that are initiative driven, that we try and get feedback from the community that really is not going to be too big of a burden just to try and postpone and look at it from that avenue and just take those additional measures of caution.
Russell says this is a unique situation and the city will continue to take it one step at a time. In Kalispell, Maren Sue, MTN News.
Visitor restrictions at Kalispell Regional Medical Center, the Health Center, and North Valley Hospital have also been expanded to one designated family member per patient and one entry point per facility. But it's not just community and health officials preparing. Later in the show, we'll tell you what school administrations in Missoula and across western Montana say are their plans amid this coronavirus outbreak. All right, we have some severe weather hitting western Montana tonight. Very windy and cold. Chief Meteorologist Elizabeth Copeland has been tracking not only deteriorating road conditions, but some power outages affecting more than 1,000 people. Elizabeth.
Yeah, good evening, Jill and Dennis. We're still tracking very windy conditions out there, and light snow is still falling, reducing visibility across western Montana roadways tonight. We've been seeing gusts recently up to 40 miles per hour in Missoula, up to 45 in the Kalispell area, while the Bitterroot Valley still is seeing those gusts about 15 to 20 miles per hour. But earlier this afternoon, we've been getting those wind gust reports in all day. Lake Blaine, just east of Kalispell, 72 miles per hour there. Woods Bay is 48 miles per hour, and then Whitefish 45 as well as Kalispell. So obviously some very gusty conditions as wind reports are going to continue coming in overnight as we track a mostly calm night across the Hamilton area, but very cold across all of western Montana. Very choppy conditions out there on Flathead Bay. We track more of that storm in our forecast coming up shortly.
As community and health leaders make preparations to combat the coronavirus, which has reached Montana, as we mentioned earlier, school officials are too.
In Missoula, Superintendent Rob Watson said Missoula County Public Schools has no plans to close schools right now. However, they are reviewing contingency plans.
For the time being, Missoula County Public Schools will remain open until directed otherwise.
What we received this morning from the Centers of Disease Control was really guidance on when to consider district-wide closing. We're not at that stage yet. However, we know we could be there very quickly the way that this is evolving. That's why we're preparing for it. We'll take direction from the local county health department as well as from the governor's office should we need to move to district-wide closing.
If a student or faculty member were to test positive for the virus at any MCPS school, Watson said the school would face a short-term closure for two important reasons.
We will move to a short-term closure at that school for two reasons, and again, this just involves that school. The first reason is for cleaning of surfaces and cleaning of school, but perhaps secondary and more importantly, that short-term closure, 2 to 5 days, which is being recommended by the CDC, would allow for the local health department to identify close contacts and to stop the spread among students if they were to come back to school.
University of Montana classes will continue to be conducted remotely to try and prevent the spread of the disease, while also providing students with the best academic opportunities possible.
And I want to make it the point that while it's important that we minimize aggregation of people into large groups to the greatest extent possible, we are working hard to make sure that our students can continue to make progress in their academic programs and achieve their learning outcomes.
While classes move to remote access, the campus will remain open, something that President Seth Bodner says is important for the well-being of the student body.
To be clear, campus remains open. Residence halls, dining, other campus services are still operational. We're working to reduce the spread of infection, of course, but we also must work to continue that our students and members of our campus community can meet their basic needs.
In Missoula, Connor McCauley, MTN News.
Both MCPS and the university will implement the new rules and policies regarding COVID-19 when their students come back after spring break.
It's not just Missoula, as Flathead school officials are also taking steps to minimize the impact should a confirmed case of coronavirus reach the Flathead Valley.
Kalispell Public School Superintendent Mark Flathead says in the event that a confirmed case is associated with the school, they'll work collaboratively with the lead health official to determine what those next steps will be. Currently, Kalispell Public Schools plan includes the impacted closing for a minimum of 3 days. That closure would give local health officials and school staff time to assess that of the known case within the school and trace the person's contact history. It also would allow school officials time to perform a thorough cleaning of the school. It would also create time for the school to prepare for possible virtual learning or take home work and develop a plan to provide for additional support as needed once the school reopens. And Jill, I want to correct one thing. We just got information in from the Lewis and Clark Public Health, and they clarified that the patient that we mentioned earlier about presumptive case in Lewis and Clark County actually was from Broadwater County, but he had been tested and received care in Lewis and Clark County.
All right, so this clarified where that
exactly,
person
in
is
Broadwater
from.
County.
All right, so the Montana Department of Corrections says it is going to suspend in-house visitation for inmates until this coronavirus risk is passed.
Facilities affected by the cancellation include Montana State Prison, the Montana Women's Prison, and Pine Hills Correctional Facility. Crossroads Correctional Center in Shelby also suspended visitation on Friday.
So effective immediately, the Montana Board of Pardons and Parole will also be conducting all its hearings through video conferencing. Also, with this outbreak, the Board of Directors for a carousel in Missoula voted to close the carousel and Dragon Hollow for 10 days. From Monday, March 16th to Wednesday, March 25th, the carousel will be shut down as a precautionary measure. The board determined it's just not feasible to adequately clean and disinfect high traffic areas, as would be necessary to protect patrons and employees. Now, earlier we received conflicting information about tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day parade in downtown Missoula.
But we've learned it is still happening. A schedule has not been canceled due to the coronavirus. That's the last word that we have on this, and we're continuing to track that. If there's any change, we'll tell you. But right now, they line up at 11 a.m. and the parade starting at noon runs down Higgins downtown. There are some parades, though, that have been canceled. That would include the St. Patrick Day parades in Butte, the big one, and Kalispell, also canceled. For a list of everything that has been either canceled or postponed because of what's going on, you can find that information on our website, KPAX.com and KAJ18.com. And of course, there's a lot to track here, so a lot of information up there as the coronavirus continues to spread. Not all the facts are checking out in terms of the information out there. That's why our Scripps National News team will offer a 30-minute special report, Coronavirus, the Facts, tomorrow, 10:35 p.m. right here on KPAX. All right, still ahead, the status of the trial for a man charged in connection with a double homicide in Missoula. And confirmed coronavirus cases, Montana halt state basketball tournaments. We'll have the latest coming up in sports on KPAX.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. The 10 o'clock news continues on KPAX, Montana's news leader.
The 2-week trial came to a close today for Preston Rosbach, who is accused of stabbing and killing 23-year-old Jason Flink and 31-year-old Megan McLaughlin. The case went to the jury about lunchtime and reached no verdict tonight, meaning they will reconvene to continue deliberations on Monday morning. This was a grueling 2 weeks for this jury, who had to view body cam footage, see evidence, and hear hours of witness statements. On October 18th, 2018, Jason Flink and Megan McLaughlin were found dead in a hotel room on Broadway Street in Missoula. The two allegedly shot by co-defendant Jonathan Whitworth, what the prosecution says was an attempted drug-related robbery. At closing statements today, the defense and prosecution went back and forth, debating their views of the evidence.
People were stabbed, slashed, shot, and killed. Hold him accountable for his actions. He's not a child He's not an innocent bystander.
And I don't want him, as I talked about earlier, just to get lumped in to this terrifying, tragic set of circumstances and have all this blame piled on him just because it feels safe or because it might be a way that's an easy way out.
Jonathan Whitworth is set to stand trial next month.
During extreme weather like we're having tonight, those less fortunate often have a hard time finding a warm place to sleep. Due to the severe weather tonight, the Flathead Warming Center in Kalispell preparing for maximum capacity through the weekend. The Warming Center holds up to 20 occupants. It will be open 7 days a week with low temperatures possibly in the single digits. Flathead Warming Center Director Luke Hefferman says doors are open for anyone who needs a warm bed until capacity is reached. He says the Low Barrier Warming Center helps save lives during harsh Montana winters.
Shelter where people can come regardless of whether or not they have an ID or if they have a background. They can just get in, get out of the cold.
You're at.
The Warming Center is located in the basement of Christ Episcopal Church in Kalispell. They open at 7 p.m. every night.